All right, welcome back, everyone. We had to pivot a little bit today, this morning. Nick had some real estate issues going on, but welcome back, man. Lead.Pray.Hodl, Coach Nick. Morning, man, or afternoon, actually, or evening for you, possibly, right?
Yeah, it's about 3 o'clock here, so it's definitely in the afternoon, early evening. So, yep, super excited to be here. Had some roof issues, man. I'm reminded why I like Bitcoin, but then I see the price and I'm reminded why I don't. So it
I
doesn't
was,
matter your
I,
business.
that's what I was gonna say. So that's why you prefer Bitcoin, right? There's always something with real estate, right? So not only was there a leak, I believe the contractor didn't show up on the time he said he's gonna come, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, this is going to be our weekly Bitcoin wrap up. So this week we kind of focus on what matters. Disciplined Bitcoiners, what they should be looking for. But every week we break it down what is actually happening in Bitcoin, right? So there's a lot of headlines versus signals, but what was the biggest Bitcoin headline this week, and more importantly, why did it actually matter?
Let's see. Okay. Biggest headline this week. I think it has to do with a lot of the macro things that are going on. We have president talking this week. People are always wondering, what is he going to say? What's next? Are we bombing Venezuela? Are we not? What's going on with the Epstein list, and what's going on with tariffs or anything else. So it's not about to be political, but there's been a lot of things going on around the world, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, Israel, our own country. And I think everyone is on edge on the markets. And then you have the algorithms that are feeding X, especially, where they're just bringing fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And they kind of, they're making retail feel uncertain. Even though we have homes at all time highs, and we have, stocks at all time highs, and real estate, and, just everything, it's still leaving people like, I think it's maybe people, millennials and boomers, that have like trauma from the great financial crashes, because I don't hear any of the younger people like worried about a recession really, or even knowing what one is. One of my guys in my men's group, my Bible study that I lead, we have about 11 of us, and I got two guys that have been let go this year. They're still let go over the last 7 months now. Still can't find a job, but they're around 34, these guys, so they're not used to, they're kind of like, it's unusual for them, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, what do you mean I haven't found a job yet, or whatever? I'm like, man, you haven't lived through the great financial crash, where you really see what happens, or a dot-com bubble, or real panic and fear. I think the printing is newer to like what happened with COVID, and they're like, we'll just print our way out. But that's not really a long-term solution. We see inflation go crazy and everything else. So yeah.
Yeah, very true. I think that's the big thing. It just depends where you're sitting at, right? Sitting at the table, right? Everyone has a different viewpoint of it, right? Do you think did the markets react correctly or emotionally? You think?
A lot of emotions. There's a lot of um, a lot of things going on where the jobs report, or was it the jobs report? No, inflation reports came in lower than expected, right? And Bitcoin shot up to 89,000, and then a couple hours later, it went all the way down to 84,500 as they're grabbing liquidity from those that are putting leverage longs. And the truth is, I really believe that until the crypto bill gets passed, it's just a crapshoot from here on out. Like, they're just trying to gather more coins, scare retail out, and they're getting big money because they're liquidating all the money from these people that are willing to gamble on the leverage. So until that goes through, hopefully in Q1, it's your guess as good as mine as to what's going to happen. Now, I believe long term, fine when you get the structure in, but you got people that could literally control the price of Bitcoin by selling it, crashing the price a little bit, leveraging getting all the liquidators that are long, and then they buy it back and they have more coins to do it all again. So that's really what's happening right now. There's just a lot of manipulation, and I hate to say that, but it's the truth that's going on. It makes me sad because I'm a Bitcoin person, and I actually thought maybe Michael Saylor and the MicroStrategy and BlackRock, they had enough coins to maybe limit how much manipulation was going on. But ever since that October 10th date, where they just they got every leverage long in the book that day, I realize it's very clear now that they have total control of whatever the price is for any of the crypto markets. And until there's regulation, you're really not going to know. Now, do I think dollar cost averaging, and you might be getting a great deal right now? You know what I mean? It might go down more. I really don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how low they want to take it, but they're letting people get in. I don't know if it's Wall Street. I don't know if it's big banks. I don't know if it's the government itself, but they're letting their friends grab some coins they were behind, and now they're like, okay, this is real, this is legit, and this is going forward. Supply crunches. So I just think this might be the greatest opportunity to buy. When it's at 120 grand, you're like, I don't know if I should buy, but you have FOMO and you want to buy. And now when we're here at 85,000, the psychology is, I'm afraid to buy. It's going down, So it's just a weird thing, and totally different than homes, because homes, the price could fluctuate all you want. You're likely just going by cash flow, and you don't really care. And then obviously you have mental things when your roof leaks or tenants move out, or so there's always like every single thing, whether it's a business and crazy Karen customers, or whenever you're trying to make money, there's going to be ups and downs. Nothing's completely passive. Now, if you don't care long term, then sure, Bitcoin and stocks, you don't worry about it. You literally just set in and forget it. But if you have a lot of money in there, and you're over leveraged, whether it's real estate, you're house rich and cash poor, or you're Bitcoin rich and cash poor, it's going to affect you mentally. So it's good to have your savings, and maybe you have your 6 to 12 month, savings that's going on. But if you're there long term, it's less stress for sure. And I want to congratulate you, by the way, I believe you just got some more new deals you were signing. I saw you sign in with the books next to you. And
that's all for the gram only.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I closed.
I know it's a secret. I thought they were all leaked. Sorry about that.
But when prices move, smart money usually shows its hand kind of quietly, right? So, what are institutional and smart money doing right now, you think? Accumulating or distributing?
Well, I think that smart money is accumulating, but whatever they're really thinking, you have some weird XRP people that love it, and they might buy that because it's cheap. It's much cheaper and affordable in their mind, and they're going for a quick run and bump. You have Solana, where everything is basically going on Solana. It's like the new chain, Solana and Sui. And these are just cryptos that might be up and coming. And I think they might be trying to get those as low as possible too, because they're going to be putting, as you see, the stock market on blockchain. You know what I mean? And they're making moves. And I'm not privileged to know what's going on inside the doors of Washington. I just know that the president himself invests heavily in Bitcoin, and his children do. And he also has a lot of real estate. And I just think those two things, he's going to do everything he can to make sure those are okay.
So some of the things that you just touched on, what would be things like maybe retail investors would misinterpret maybe on these things?
A lot of times people would think that they would misinterpret that it's over because it's going down. You know what I mean? Like, just like when it went down to 16,000 a coin. Well, it's done. It's not good. It's trash. It went from 70,000 to 16,000. But a lot of times people are buying back in more because it's more affordable. And then when it goes up, they're making, 5, 10x. Now, the one thing I want you to be afraid of is I don't trust anything but Bitcoin myself personally. I do like Solana, but I don't trust the other ones because a lot of times those could be mass produced. Bitcoin is a limited production supply. Now, heavy institutions do own it, Coinbase, Winterminute, and so on, you know what I mean? But I just think when it comes to Bitcoin, you're playing a supply and demand game, and you're still waiting for the supply to catch up and run out. And then once supply runs out, that's when things really get expensive, get worth it. And I think that's when you'll see people like not want to sell, and they'll only sell when they have to. And you got to also remember one more thing. Money is tighter around the country right now, and really around the world. And Bitcoin's liquid, so you could go in and out of it real quick. So a lot of times people are going to take their 10 grand, their 20 grand, their 100 grand, and they're going to grab it really quickly. In addition, we also had some really big wallets that were old, like legendarily old wallets. They sold billions of dollars worth of their coins. Now, they might believe because the cycle was continuing and we were going to have this big crash, and they were either going to rebuy back in and buy them for much cheaper and take their billions, or they just wanted to buy a castle, maybe they're getting older and they want to take care of all their family members. I have no, you don't know, you know what I mean? But the thing I do know is eventually all they're doing is the coin average cost is going higher. So it's no longer those $3 coins, those $3,000 coins. Now they're 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, 120,000. And a lot of people don't like to lose money, so they're not going to sell it for lower, so they'll just wait. So you want those cost-based averages to go higher. The same happens in the stock market. I mean, Tesla and Google and Amazon, they get so high that they have to they do like a 10-to-1 ratio, right? A stock split in order to make people believe they could afford it again. Who doesn't do that? Berkshire Hathaway. So it's like $580,000 a share because they never stock split it. So I just think it's a long-term play, not a short-term. You're seeing banks come in and they're allowing you to get loans on it. I just think it's a matter of time till it's full-blown adoption, personally.
So this naturally brings us to like positioning for what's next. So where do you see the biggest opportunity or the biggest risk heading into next week?
Well, next week's a shorter week because of the holiday break. So when you have shorter weeks, when you have the market closed, there's a lot of less volume going on. So it's easier for them to manipulate the price. If you notice, a lot of times on the weekends is when the crypto market is really fluctuating on Sundays because there's very low volume. So they can control a lot of it, the people that have Coinbase, Winter Minute, and so on. If you can actually track their wallets and see them selling or moving coins, that's the one cool thing about blockchain. On stocks, you don't really know who's selling, right? You're just kind of like, oh, there's a lot of people selling. But again, they have wash trading, you don't. One thing though I do want to say is if you bought higher because there is no wash trading, we're getting to the end of the year where you might want to sell it and rebuy back at the same low price, but now you get the write-off for the year because there's no wash trade rule in crypto. Now, I'm not giving you tax advice, but I know some of my friends that are doing that same thing. They're like, oh, I'm just going to buy it for the same price, but now I get to write it off because there's no wash trade rule. Now, don't get me wrong, when it gains back from here, depending on when you sell it, then that's when you'll pay the taxes.
All right. So, and when you zoom all the way out, every week Bitcoin teaches us something, right? So, what is the one lesson Bitcoiners should take away from this week?
I think the lesson is always a lesson in psychology. I've hear even in my friends group, like they start to see Bitcoin pumping back to 90 and they get excited and it sells back off and they're pissed off, like they're angry, gosh dang it, and I was like, look, you're looking at it like a house. You're looking at it like a normal stock that you can't wash trade. Bitcoin is volatile. Bitcoin is meant to be traded. It's meant to be exchanged. A lot of these people are making money because they're gambling it up, they're gambling it down. Some people are trading options up and they're selling covered calls down. So it's different than your normal everyday stock. And they even do that in stocks. But because there's no full regulation on that and no wash trade rules, it's being exacerbated, honestly. And truthfully, I do believe those main companies, BlackRock and MicroStrategy, they're all in the room. They're all in the room and deciding what's going to happen in the future. So I don't think anybody up there is nervous, shocked, surprised. I just think they're being patient, stacking more, and being greedy. One thing you know about rich people is they don't mind making more money.
All right. Well, I think that's kind of the wrap up of everything. So let's kind of see who's here in the chat. I do see Yasik. Jason Harrison is here from Virginia. He says, here for the collapse of Bitcoin. But he does say, do you think that folks are hopping to stocks over Bitcoin for the end of the year?
I don't know. Really what's going on is I think AI is still in a lot of the Bitcoin money as well. Everyone is buying into the AI bubble. They don't want to be late and they think that we're still early in everything because the robots, they haven't really happened yet. We see what chat is doing and we've seen Nvidia at $5 trillion and they don't want to miss the next, Nvidia. They don't want to miss Tesla going to 10 trillion and Elon getting his bonus and being a part of it. So I think the future is AI in Bitcoin personally. So I do really believe that some of the money is going to AI and transferring that over. The other thing that people aren't realizing too is that China saw what happened to Russia and the American sanctions on their treasuries. They were no longer allowed to sell those for money during their war to fund their war. While China, who has tons of treasuries from the US because the US has always been the most reliable source of money, in the world, since they've had it, they're selling their treasuries and they're buying gold and silver. So that really has thrown everything off. So the banana zone that everyone thought was going to go in Bitcoin has been going to gold and silver, truthfully. You're seeing, thousands of year old silver and gold going up 65% in a year. And all it is China, in my opinion, selling their bonds, and they're trying to get off the thumb of America. In case they go to war with us, in case they go to war with somebody else, they don't want to get handcuffed by sanctions that they're not allowed. You also have BRICS. They're trying to start their own money. They don't want to be under American control, and I don't blame them, because I wouldn't. I think it's kind of insane that the world just said, okay, yeah, we'll accept your fiat money. I just can't believe that happened. Now, I understand a little bit, as I know the history of it, but I'm just saying that I understand why countries these days are saying, I don't want to be a part of that, because I see that you have too much control over us. And then I also think people that have really bad countries, they need to buy Bitcoin, because it's the safest thing they could do, because they're just printing money anyways, and your money's losing value. And I know Bitcoin's down some right now, but I don't think it's ever going to collapse personally. I think it's going up, but that's just my opinion on both those things. A little history lesson.
And Harrison follows up with, Nick, do you think Satoshi Nakamoto will sell?
God, I hope not. You know what I mean? 'Cause let me tell you, if he did sell, it would just create some panic. Now, I'm different than what everyone else thinks. Now, I know it will create panic because he owns such a huge percentage of the coins. Now, I don't think in the long run it matters, because as people, like I said, continue to buy the coins, we weed those out, and eventually it will all work itself out. But it would not be good immediately. It would be a huge crash down. Yeah, it would be. It'd just be scared. They would just be like, I would be even worried. Like, how many more of those older wallets are going to keep pumping coins? Because I'm not worried about it long term, but it slows down when you're going to get that money. And for me, I want the money every year compounding and going up. So 2026, I would say that it wasn't a good year for crypto at all. I think it was a terrible year. And I don't think it was the best year for Bitcoin either.
All right. Well, I see Flavio's here. I see Josh tuning in. But I mean, that's unless there's more questions, I think that was a great weekly wrap up. If you want to dig in a little bit to why you prefer Bitcoin based on what happened this morning for you, right? So if people tuning in late, that we had to pivot. We were supposed to go live at what 9 a.m. Pacific, I believe, and last minute Nick had some real estate issues, right? So what happened there?
Well, I live in SoCal, and we're going to have one of those rare winter storms coming up. It's kind of crazy, but we're going to have like 4 or 5 straight days of raining. And I've been having a little leak in my roof, and I haven't been able to find where it's at. So I got a contractor over that I use. We've had to cut some holes in the drywall up top. I have solar, so it just makes everything a complete pain if it was under there. I don't think it's under the solar, so we're going to redo some of the shingles and get things done tomorrow. But when it comes, this is something we talked about last week. I don't know if you remember, but why I invested in California at the time, though I don't like the landlord politics of it. But buying the $1 million house, it appreciates, and you only got one roof, one HVAC or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And you were like, well, what if I get 5 $200,000 ones, right? And so I guess for me that would, let's say $1 million one's a fourplex, and then you have 5 200,000 fourplex, but that's 4 roofs, 16 tenants, 16. It's just a lot more, turnover and recap. So I don't know. I love real estate. I love Bitcoin. I'm not one of those guys that are like maxis of only either or. I'm always for opportunity. So I can promise you, I'm still going to love Bitcoin because I think it's long term, but I'm also not afraid to, like I said, I'm probably putting an offer in the next 2 weeks into a Charlotte place as well. So we'll see. And turning one of the room has this huge detached garage that I'll probably turn into an ADU. But it's a big project. Obviously, out-of-state projects are big, but I'm not one of those just maxi only. I'm a finance guy. I got a master's degree. I love economics. I love history. I teach history as well. And so I'm going to pivot to whatever works. And I think that's what people do. I don't diversify into like a million things. I'm just going to master a couple and go from there. I like single families. I like the ADU, but I'm not doing storage and mobile home parks. Even though those are all great, my brain can only hold so much knowledge. I can only master certain things. Even I only know a couple stocks and study the hell out of them. That's why I believe in Tesla long term. I believe in Bitcoin long term. I believe just like in the S&P, like Warren Buffett would say, it's safer. But I love both. Yeah.
Josh Burdick does have a question. He says, I have no Bitcoin, but what wallet should I use, or what's the best way to purchase?
Well, the best way to purchase, I think, is still going through your brokerage and buying iBit. It's just a safer version where you don't need a wallet because they're in charge of all their Bitcoins, and you could sell covered call strategy and do that. But pretty soon here, and I don't want to give you an exact date, but pretty soon the bank is going to be storing your Bitcoin and being able to buy it through them. And I think that would probably be the opportunity. I only say that not because I know most people don't want the banks, they're trying to get away from banks. But what happens if you hit your head on a motorcycle, or you just, you end up spending some time where you lose your password, your codes, you forget about it, you don't want to leave it with your wife or anything that happens. So I just would be careful about putting it on maybe a Kraken wallet or something. But I would always be careful of that, because you never know what's going to happen. You lose your brain and
And the one thing I'll say to that, if Hyder was here, Josh, he would just let you know that you are not buying Bitcoin, though, if you are buying IBIT. That's
yeah.
the one thing he would tell you.
Yeah. The one thing about buying Bitcoin, just so he knows, when you buy Bitcoin, there is a cost to it. So there's a spread to it. When you buy Bitcoin, there's it could be a 0.07 spread or something. So if you bought a whole coin right now, it'd probably cost you $800 to buy it. And then when you sell it, it'd probably cost you another whatever 0.07 or whatever it is to sell it. So there is a fee to it. So I'm trying to prevent you from paying $1,400 trying to buy and sell it, and buy an IBIT where there's a smaller fee for the year, but you can make money on the actual coin itself during that whole time with covered calls. Yeah.
Hey, I see Gus tuning in. Gus was on yesterday on my live stream with Emily. So that was his first time on. Gus is in Maine doing a lot of cool stuff. I think he's at like 70, 73 units, I believe, but a lot of cool stuff up there. But we'll try to get him back on the channel.
He's in Maine?
Yes.
Oh, man, Maine's beautiful. I don't know how you do real estate there because of the snow, you know what I mean? But man, in the summertime, that's one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah, he's I forget what actual area in Maine he's investing, but he's killing it up there. He was on Bigger Pockets rookie she's
Nice.
a while ago, but he just joined school also, but he's loving the school community. Josh is saying though, there's a fee just like buying precious metals.
Yeah, there's a fee for buying Bitcoin. Yeah, buying and selling it. Yep.
All right. So if anyone else has any questions, throw it in the chat real quick before we wrap it up. Cool. So you have the Charlotte property already picked out and everything, and
Yeah, I'm just gonna see if they're gonna take my offer. It's been on for like 200 days, so I'm gonna throw a disrespectful offer out there and see if they accept it or not. Because it's a total like rehab, honestly.
oh really?
Yeah. So I'm gonna have either one of my guys or my uncle who does contracting and do all the work. But they'd be doing me a favor. But I might do it. We'll see if they accept it. Like I said, it's gonna be a disrespectful offer. So if they don't, I'm not gonna lose sleep over. But if they do, I want to have some instant equity after I repair it and renovate it. So it's pretty cool, and I'm excited about that. Also, I'm like 2 people short of 300 subscribers. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to Mark's if you haven't already.
All right. Yep. There is his channel in the chat. So go subscribe there. Lead.Pray.Hodl, doing a lot of cool daily stuff on Bitcoin, on Instagram, YouTube. But yeah, go subscribe there, get him to 300, and we'll be back next week.